Welcome to our August 2013 garden video. We start in the front yard with a few snapshots. Heleniums are great because they bloom late summer all the way up until frost, and we have about a total of 5 different kinds. Our front project is looking good. This is the second full summer since it's been done. The pine tree has grown. The yucca looks good. We have some here and some further over. This Kruse cypress is a great tree. It's a great color. Euphorbia, donkey tail, and grasses. We like grasses because they move in the wind. There's some more yucca over there. We planted this front to be low maintenance, and it has worked out that way because we've put a lot of mulch down in between. It's mostly evergreen, but we have a few annuals. We also have a really nice dahlia called Chimicum Sam for the next town over. The big berm has this cascading grass that almost looks like a waterfall, and above it are the Cape fuchsia. And we have daisies and crocosmia, and there's more grasses tucked in. We have daylilies and this really neat double triple daisy. The thing neat about the crocosmia is the hummingbirds love it. We have several that live here, and they dive bomb each other trying to get to the crocosmia. We planted a yucca just the other day. Let's see. I'm sorry, not a yucca. A tropicana. And some more feathergrass. We have a little vignette here with a little bird bath and some birds. Our Joe Cozy pine, which the deer had run through right after we planted it, but it's made a nice recovery. They broke off most of the front of it. These are lilies getting ready to burst their buds. Every year when we go to the Seattle Flower Show, I buy at least a half a dozen more lilies. This will be the first year that I'm not going to enter anything into the Jefferson County Fair. It's too hard to bend and stoop, although I am feeling better. And I would be hard-pressed to outdo myself from last year when I not only won Best in Show with some of the lilies, but I had the most blue ribbons for flowers of everybody in Jefferson County. So, since I don't think I could outdo myself, I'll skip this year. Maybe next year. This is the back of the big berm. And we have our table here where we take lunch, and we're hidden from the street. We have house plants out on the porch from when we were away so Susan could water them, and we haven't brought them back in yet because when we take my birthday trip in September, it'll be the same thing. They'll have to be watered. So they're getting a summer outside. This is a clivia. It's beautiful when it blooms. Some more lilies in front of the clematis. This is right outside our bedroom windows, so the fragrance at night from the lilies is wonderful. There's 3 different kinds right here. This one has just a pink marking in the middle. These lilies are pure white, and I don't remember the name of them, but they're quite stunning. And I have an apple blossom penstemon in front. There's some more clematis, some more lilies that haven't bloomed. What's neat about having a whole bunch of lilies is they bloom consecutively, so you always have something going on in the garden. These are perennial sweet peas. I don't have to replant them. They come back every year. This is our Akuba that I brought from Ocean City. I got it from a client in Ocean City, and I brought it here with us. So some year I think it would be fun to do a video, short clips, month to month, because we have things blooming starting in February. April, May. May is a big month, so is June for all the spring blooming plants. Now we come to Ocean City on the railroad. Ocean City and Tuckahoe. With the murals in the houses, it really is a charming vignette. And then we have the Pennsylvania Journal Square and the Philadelphia Fish Company and the locomotive and the tender. Right up against the house we have Tomato Row. All of the tomatoes this year I started from seed in the house, and they're doing quite well. We've picked some so far, but it gets kind of cool at night. Our highest temperature since we've been home may be 75. Sun Gold is always a fun tomato. They ripen the first, and we've had some of those on the salad. The other tomato I always plant is Early Girl. They're bigger tomatoes, but they take a little longer to ripen. And we planted black cherry and a Russian cherry tomato called Koralik. And this is the Cape May part of the railroad. Underplanted with hostas and beesia. and a small lamb's ear stackies. The beesia is a relatively new plant, only in the markets for 3 or 4 years. So we have hostas and astilbe, and the slugs are starting to get to the hosta. This is a whole stand of tansy. When I lived in Elmer and worked at Elmer Hospital, one of my friends there gave me a piece, and I also brought that back with us. So along the back we have hostas and daisies and astilbe and lady mantle. The only string beans I plant now are scarlet runner beans, not only for the great flowers, but the beans grow quite large, and they have a very good taste, and they stay pretty tender. And to complement that, right next door, there's a dahlia I got from my friend Dana, and the colors are very complementary. The orange and the yellow. And next to that is a water lily dahlia. Which I probably bought at the Seattle Flower Show. We have a barrel of raspberries, which is a late raspberry crop. They don't bloom until, or bear until September. A little vignette with birdhouses, more daisies. This is our wreck train on the rails in Thornson's Harbor near Ace's Boats. And here's a model of Palermo that Mr. Voss built for Bob. This is a perennial impatiens, which has gorgeous leaves, and it really likes the shade, and it likes to be moist. It's been a little dry for it. We haven't had one drop of rain since we came home. And now we have the Atlantic City Electric Company. With some Peabody cars, coal cars, bringing coal to the company. And in front of that is a Legularia. And one of my benches, because I have to sit a lot to garden today. This is cucumber row, and I have things planted in the bricks in front, and the cucumbers are growing up the back. And I like the pickling cucumbers because I want to make pickles. The peas have done quite well here. We have them every night in our salad raw. Strawberries are done for the time being. These were the June bearers, which bore like crazy while we were away. My garden waterer says she has tons of them in her freezer. This other bed of strawberries is everbearing, and it will put out another crop later in the season. The onions that Bob and I planted are bent over, starting to cure, and which means they'll be ready to be dug pretty soon. Parsley and more peas. First peas are done. Potato barrel. Potatoes are done. These are butterball, and they will be dug probably next week. We have a lot of white phlox David, which is very fragrant, but it spreads like crazy, and I have to keep yanking some of it out. Black-eyed Susans, which also spread. Sedum Autumn Joy, which will bloom pink in about a month. Coreopsis goldsturm and yarrow. In front of our maple tree, which this year and last year has turned red really early. I'm wondering if it's doing really well or if there's a problem. The leaves also used to be bigger. We have lavender phlox over here. That also spreads. This was from a little, probably a gallon pot. Our yellow zucchini are doing quite well. Lots of tomatillas, but they're not ripe yet. They're still hollow in the middle. And more yellow zucchini. I have a green one, a couple green ones in here, but they're shadowed, and I'm not sure if they're going to ripen or not. This was the lettuce bed, but it's bolting now. Some of it is going to head, but most of it's going to seed. I planted some new plants yesterday for the fall growth. Here's Dad's old-fashioned root beer car that Bob got for his 75th birthday from Liam, Tammy, and Rob at the Corn Products building. The Stetson Tower. And Lipschultz Freight Forwarding with its work trucks. And now we come on the Pennsylvania Railroad Kensington Freight Station. Keystone Coal with the circus car that Rob, Tammy, and Liam also got Bob for his birthday last year. Here's the passenger railway station, Kensington, with somebody waiting for the train. And an old Pepsi-Cola truck. And the Keno yard. It's quite a railroad, and quite a garden. I have a few pots this year, not as many as other years. This is a new plant. It's a variegated abutilon, and I will have to bring it in for the winter because it's not hardy. None of these plants in pots are hardy except for the fairy rose. And I'm probably going to bring in this pretty plant, the low big leaf growing one, for the winter. Bring it onto the porch. This pot wintered over. Honeysuckle bush was in full bloom for months, and the hummingbirds loved it, but it's resting now, and we'll get a few more. And at the foot of it, there's a gold fuchsia that's very hardy. These 2 lettuce pots on the porch were very successful. They're self-watering. Bob made them for me a couple years ago. But the lettuce is just about getting done because it's been much warmer this year than last year. This is a geranium I wintered over. This is a smoke bush, which I'm going to put out front in the fall. And there I am, the reflection on the sunroom. That's a pretty geranium. It's pretty. The leaf, it gets a nondescript flower. In the back corner we have YM with a few cabooses and an old metal truck, which is really, really old. It is so old it is rusted over. North Philly Station, LaSalle, the New York Times trucks delivering the newspapers. Reading Lines, North Broad Street Station. Again, some people waiting for the train. And there's a man selling fruit. There's the Bauer and Kaufman building. Joe's service station with a really old PRR truck and some oil trucks, gasoline truck. RCA next to Campbell's Soup. And Gimbels and Litz and Wanamaker's and Snellenberger's, the old stores from Philadelphia. Bob expanded the terminal this year, just recently finished, made it twice as long. Across the way are nasturtiums. Sweet peas, sometimes I put the nasturtium leaves and flowers into our salad. They have a very peppery taste. This part is always shaded, so the ferns do really well here. And this hydrangea that Susan and I moved because it was out front and the deer were eating it, it's doing really, really well. This is a lace cap hydrangea, and it starts out with just little buds in the middle, and then the flowers get big and cover it all up. A couple heucheras or coral bells, and a fern. And some pansies I started from seed. This is the north path, and it's pretty shady. Our ivy is finally starting to grow, and it will cover the fence eventually. It's been in a couple years. This is all under the terminal. Pennsylvania engine with the blue comet in the background. That's the dining car. You can see the lamps on each individual table. And here's the M410, a majestic bud car. That's a neat caboose, 42104. This is looking down the terminal. As you can see, it is quite long, and there are lights to illuminate at nighttime. They go on automatically. This is some ivy I got from my mother and brought with us. This plant is very pretty, the color of the leaves, and then now late summer it gets these hanging flowers which will turn into like little, oh here's some, almost like little grapes, and they are edible, although they're very small. So that's chartreuse and purple planted right next to the 9-bark summer wine, which is a dark purple. It's done blooming. It blooms pink. And then growing up through it, I planted a geranium, which does travel. At the foot of the 9-bark is a Hakanakloa Japanese grass, which has really grown over the, I don't know how many years it's been in. Some daisies, another fuchsia, coneflower, sea holly, and the rose, white meadowland, which a couple weeks ago was totally covered with clumps of white flowers, and it keeps on blooming all year until frost. Bee balm, which the bees go crazy for. Liatris, a golden sedum. This garden is yellow and pink and blue and purple. And a few daisies thrown in. And that is the end of our tour for this year. It's been a great year. The weather has been much better this year than other years. I added a couple photographs at the end of the video. These lettuce beds were really great. Honeysuckle is blooming much better earlier in the season. The butterflies love the phlox this year. We've had many butterflies. This is a picture of a lily and euphorbia. Some more lilies. And this is our clivia that was out on the porch. It's blooming and we brought it inside so we could enjoy it. There's more butterfly on the white phlox. This is the sweet and neat tomato.